Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome
Good
you
morning.
to Keystroke Live. It's great to see everybody this morning. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Summit County, Colorado, so we're happy, but still enough snow for skiing. So um, today we're going to be talking about the report editor. While I'm giving the presentation, I'm going to mute everybody so that background noise and that sort of thing doesn't come into play. And then when I'm finished, I will unmute everybody so that you can answer any questions. And I can answer your questions. So today with Report Editor, we are going to be talking about just the basics of report editing. Just a little bit of information. This should be fun. There we go. Keystroke Live, every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Mountain Time, same place. We have different topics every week. We try to kind of group them together, something similar. Every first Wednesday of each month is going to be our president, Michael Gebb, and he'll have topical information on things that are going on in Keystroke and with SBS. Editing report forms is fairly simple. It is available for those users who are licensed for advanced POS or users that may not have advanced but years ago had a product that we called the user bundle, and it's also available in the dealer bundle. It is not available in standard Keystroke POS. Basically, you can substitute, add, or remove data fields from a report. It's going to be a good idea to start with a report that has most of the information you want, and then we can change things around. You want to look in each section of the report, and I'll get into this in detail when we get into Keystroke, including the subtotal and the grand total fields so that you put your fields in all of the areas necessary. Now, as dealers, you can create custom forms for your customers and just copy that file to their reports folder and they can use it. So just because somebody is not licensed for advanced or the user bundle does not mean that they can't have some customized reports. Some things to think about in the report. It is based on a fixed width font. And the total width on reports when printing in regular portrait mode is 80 characters in pica or the standard print, and 136 characters if you use condensed print. And there are some fields besides the field that you want to print. The things you need to look at are the track, the width of the field, the alignment, decimal places if it's a number field, and then flags and print codes. Keystroke default file names always begin with a 0, so when you're creating a custom form, at least the first of the last 4 characters that you're naming the file with do need to be something other than 0. It can take letters or numbers. And you do want to remember to change the description so that it's easier to find custom forms in the list. So let's go ahead and go into Keystroke. And we're going to do some simple forms editing. So you can see down here on the status bar, I am in the Reports Manager. We're going to look at an inventory database report. And For an example, we're just going to start with a default form, the price list with product code, with the file name of RID 10,000. To edit the form, you bring up the form list, hit F3, which is our standard edit hotkey, and it brings up the report editor. This is the file name I was talking about, these 4 digits or letters, and you want to make sure the first one is not a 0. So we're just going to change that to a 1. The description is what shows in the list of your available report forms. We're going to keep this price list with product code, but we're going to add extended description. You may have a customer that has a regular description and an extended description. So let's kind of look in general. Here we have our width of 80. This particular form does not have anything in condensed. You might see other forms that do show things in condensed. Please remember, editing report forms is as much an art as a science. We're always happy to help you. Depending on the report form, there are all kinds of sections. This one starts with section 2 because you can group by department, category, or location. We're not going to add anything in here. But if you go down to the section 1, the inventory section, you notice it's going to print the inventory number, the stock number, the product code, the description, the quantity on hand, your price, and then if you want to, you can print serial numbers, alternate codes, and comments. Well, today we want to add in the extended description. Now, I know this report form doesn't have enough room on line 1. So I'm going to add it on line 2. The way to add a line in the report editor is hold down your control key and hit enter. It'll come up with just a blank field that you can add. We're going to make this line number 2, and the field we're going to do is an inventory field. We're in the inventory section, so we're going to choose an inventory field, and I am looking for the long description. This is one of those strange fields. Long description is the same as extended description. I'm going to have a space before it, and we'll discuss this in a little bit. I know the width of this field is like 40 characters, and I do want to make it left justified. Some of these fields in here, like the alignment, if you hit F2 or insert, it gives you your choice of alignments. You can left, center, right. You can also barcode it. This is not a decimal points field. There is no F2 or insert here, but there's great information on the help file. Sometimes you want to limit it to 2 decimal points, etc. Here's flags. There's all kinds of things that you can choose on particular fields. If this were a comment field, I'd mark it as a comment. There's list fields like serial numbers and alternate codes. You can skip fields if they're blank. You can even print graphics on your reports if you want. We're not going to get that far into it, but please give us a call. We're not going to flag this field at this point. And print codes give you an idea if you want to print it in condensed or underlined, double width, that sort of thing. Of course, this all depends on your printer capability and your printer drivers. we're not going to do any flags. And I'm not going to do a heading just because it's going to kind of mess up the header. So we're going to hit OK, and now we have long description. Well, we aren't going to want everything else. If we choose to print serial numbers and alternate codes, we're not going to want those on the same line. We're going to want those below. So we're going to edit each one of these and make them line 3. As well as the comment field. Now notice on my long description, I started it on just the track is kind of like leading spaces before you start printing that field. We're going to go ahead and save it like this. I'm going to print this to the screen, and this is a great way to test things. So we're going to choose our inventory database report with our extended description. Pretty basic report, no grouping. Let's go ahead and print it to the screen. So let's take a look at it. And we're going to go back a couple of pages here. Notice how those items that have an extended description, it prints it all the way over here on the left. Well, you know, that kind of looks funky. It makes it hard to read the stock number and stuff. So we want to move this over to be over maybe directly below or slightly indented in the description field. So let's go ahead and close this. Let's go back to our report. In our report form, remember, hit F3. To get an idea of where that description field starts, if you look in this inventory section, the stock number has a leading space of 1, and then it's 6 characters. Then we have the inventory code. There's a leading space of 3 and 20 characters. Then the description, it has another character in front of it. If you add all of that up, so that's 7, 10, 31 characters right now before the beginning of the description field. Well, if we want our long description to be indented, say, a couple of characters, you can take that 30 characters plus 1 plus a couple of spaces. So let's go 34 characters before this field starts to print. So we're going to save it, save our form, choose it, and now let's print it to the screen. Let's go back to the first page, and now you see our extended description is directly underneath our regular description, and it's indented a few characters. That gives you an idea of how you can edit a form. I'm going to show you something briefly on just substituting a field. We're going to start with this same form and edit it. And this, for example, shows, well, let's look at our settings first. You know, this form is just going to show the price. We can choose, and notice in the form or on the settings, we can choose, do we want this price to be current price, base price, sales price, any of our prices. That's where, in this form, notice in the price field, it's selected price. That is an inventory calculated field, and it is based partially on your settings. So if I would change my printed price here to be base price, it's going to print base price. Current price means, okay, if it's marked on sale, it's going to print the sale price. If it's not, it's probably going to print the base price. But let's see how we might change the name of a field. So for example, instead of, in this case, instead of stock number, we want the inventory class field. Stock number doesn't mean anything. We want the class and the product code. So we're going to choose inventory. We're going to find class on the list. It's about the same size. We're going to change the heading to class and go ahead and save that. Now when we print it to the screen, you notice our first column is class. Real easy to substitute. All kinds of things you can do with these reports. As I said, it's kind of more of an art than a science, but I wanted to give you some of the ideas. The hardest thing is if the report gets more complex. For example, if we look at a sales analysis report, cost and profit is a standard form. There's a lot more sections. We start with section 7 and then 6 and on down the line. You may need to change your field in several different areas. So let's look at, we've got department, we've got inventory, you've got subtotals here in the inventory section. So for example, if you want this instead of average cost, you want it last cost. Well, you may have to change it here. You may have to change it here, here, also in the grand total section. So think about that when you're editing your report forms. If there are multiple sections, you may have the same field in multiple sections, and you want to change it in each section. Otherwise, your report may not make sense. This is kind of a general overview, but let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to open this up for questions if anybody has any questions. Any questions on report editing? And Harold, I see you have a question here on Crystal reports. Not at this point can you use Crystal reports directly with Keystroke. You can export Keystroke information to delimited files, but there's no direct interface with Crystal reports at this time. Okay. Just a quick review. Editing report forms is available in Advanced POS, the old user bundle, or as part of your dealer bundle. You can change fields, add other fields, substitute, look at every section, especially the subtotals and the grand totals, and you can copy these forms to your customers. So that's always great. Even if they don't have this particular feature, you can do it for them. Things to look at: the width, all the track, the width, the alignment, all of that. please call us. As I said, this is as much an art as a science, but we can always help you. I appreciate everybody being here this morning. Remember, same time, same place. Next week, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, we're going to be having Merchant Warehouse Genius training. Remember, the Merchant Warehouse Genius is a device for processing payments with Keystroke. The Genius device is a great device because it does not connect with the POS system. It connects directly to Genius. And David Hunsinger is going to be setting that up, and we may have a guest presenter as well. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, you all have a wonderful day, and hopefully you'll join us next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Lynn.